Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farooq Patafi. Once again, we have to come back to the politics of this country and let us talk about something new that happened yesterday. Of course, at this moment we are in transition. The new government still is taking shape. At least its policies are taking shape. But in that climate, in that environment, we heard something from the opposition as well. Asif Ali Zardari, the co-chairman of Pakistan People's Party, yesterday spoke briefly with the media. And there he expressed his frustration with the current government. And he said that time has come that all the opposition parties have to come together and sitting together, they have to declare that the government is not competent enough and they have to find a way to end the government. So it was his rallying call to the opposition. We didn't see any other opposition party represented at that time. Does that mean that opposition won't be coming together, or will it be able to? Remember, at this time, when you talk about the pro-government and anti-government factions in the federal parliament, the National Assembly, you have a more or less 49-51 divide. Actually, even lesser differences there. 4 or 5 seats in total. If PMLN, People's Party come together, other disparate groups also come together, that is some number that people believe can be achieved to dislodge a government as well. But will that happen? Because in the recent past, we saw that whenever PMLN tried to seek help from People's Party, that was not forthcoming. On the other side, we also saw the Prime Minister of Pakistan speaking to the media, a select group of media men. And there he repeatedly talked about accountability, the government and the difficulties it has faced, and this reassurance as well that the government is going to emerge and take the country out of the economic crisis that the government inherited. We are going to talk about these matters and more, what happens in coming days. And then, of course, there's another very important aspect, the by-elections, the 2 phases of by-elections, where we saw 2 very interesting trends. In Sindh, especially in Karachi, we saw consolidation of PTI's vote bank. In Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, it was willy-nilly, but ANP seems to be gaining some momentum there. They got 2 seats. And in Punjab, at least when it comes to Lahore and 1 more seat of Chakwal, there they got, PMLN managed to win the seats. At this moment, what does it mean? Does it mean that in coming days you're going to see opposition rising? Are you going to see, different fragmented, verdicts throughout the country? Or the government can really enhance its supposed base further? We are going to talk about all these matters and more. In order to help us understand these issues, we are joined by Senator Anwar Kakar, Senator of Balochistan Awami Party. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Next to him is Dr. Niaz Murtaza. If you watch this program, he's a regular, keeps appearing in this program. Also a political economist, also one of my favorite columnists. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program as well. And we are expecting a 3rd guest. The moment she arrives, I'm going to introduce her as well. Senator Saab, I have to start with you. What do you make of Asif Ali Zardari's rallying call?
Well, as far as I read it, I think so. Probably there is a sense that the accountability apparatus in the country is approaching PPP's leadership, and they may be in that legal trap of being accountable for their political decisions, whatever they have done in the past. That would be translated into a larger grand alliance of the opposition that yet needs to be seen.
Okay.
Because in my humble opinion, I think so, there is a fractured opposition with their own respective agendas.
Okay.
I see less commonality between them to gather around a cause, which at the moment does not appear
Okay.
which can be sellable to the people of Pakistan.
Okay. Survival is not a cause enough.
Well, survival would be difficult to sell to the masses of Pakistan.
Yeah, but they can always call it democracy. They can always talk about ARD, Alliance for Restoration of Democracy, their legacy, Charter of Democracy, this and that, and the other thing.
The difference between the past, those political experiments which we have witnessed, is that there is no takeover in the country. The country is being run by an elected government. We have gone through the third transitional democratic dispensation. There is no military takeover. So what would you restore? The democracy is already there as far as the government is concerned. It has been changed through ballot.
Right, and there's a narrative that it might be a controlled democracy. We are going to come back to that. Let me welcome the third guest I've got, Kanwal Shuazab, MNA Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, ruling party. Actually, we have representation from two ruling alliance members, but one is a different party from Balochistan. The other one is the direct ruling party. I've welcomed Kanwal Shuazab, but let me go back to Dr. Niaz Murtaza. So your take on Asif Ali Zardari's
Yeah, it was
yesterday?
quite an unusual call and, quite out of line with, the profile that he had maintained so far.
Okay, timely or untimely?
I guess this is a bit too early to, start talking
Or too
about,
late?
ousting the government.
Or too late?
Criticizing the government is a different matter, and, that can happen from, day one. There's no problem with that. But to, go to such an extent within the first 3 months of, a government and start demanding that, everybody should sign. He wasn't really very clear as to what he was suggesting, and then I think
He has
later in the
never been
interview,
very clear, by
he
the
was, he was asked whether, he'd join a movement, and then he gave an unclear answer. We'll have to see whether. So in a sense, what he was saying is he'll have to wait and see whether he follows his own call or not. So it was a bit of a confusing interview, but still, I mean, it's quite striking given that he had a more measured tone so far. I mean, the PMLN had taken out a few, held a few, sort of protest meetings and so on, and processions outside the parliament as well as the Election Commission of Pakistan. But the PPP had usually stayed away from those kind of things. But with Mr. Zardari, you can never be sure that this is coming out because this is based on principles or anything.
We can anticipate what People's Party might be doing because we have seen their call. What happens to PMLN now? PMLN even now has two narratives, one of Nawaz Sharif, one of Shehbaz Sharif. Reconciliation versus confrontation. Do you think that the confrontationists are going to come together with Asif Ali Zardari if he is serious in his call?
Well, frankly, I mean, it's difficult to say anything even about the PMLN because, of course, Mr. Nawaz Sharif has been very quiet. Mariam has been very quiet ever since they've come out of jail. Now, of course, you can rationalize and say that, they're still in mourning.
Okay.
So maybe once you have, the Chaliswa of...
Chaliswa is over.
Is
it
over
was
now.
Day before yesterday.
Day before yesterday. So, they've been fairly quiet. Twitter account of Mariam has been practically inactive. So it's not very clear that whether there are even two narratives now within PMLN itself or not, because, with Shehbaz Sharif's arrest, that would have been the ideal moment for, the two camps to come together.
Yeah, but he said, he was asked by reporters whose narrative is going to prevail in the party. And he said, mine. I am the head of the party. So it will be mine.
Shehbaz?
Shehbaz.
Shehbaz, yeah. I mean, but then, he's nominal head of the party. Obviously, the real power still lies.
Not really.
Power still lies with Nawaz Sharif. That's my opinion.
Okay.
Formally he may not be head of the party anymore.
Okay.
But so again, it's very unclear, and I think it's a bit too early to start talking about ousting the government.
Right, Kanwal Shuazab Sahib, what have you done to offend the opposition so much that PMLN in Punjab is up in arms? And when you talk about People's Party, Asif Ali Zardari yesterday held a presser in which he says that the government is not competent and it has to be exposed and all the opposition parties should come together. What have you done wrong?
We have exposed the champions of democracy.
Okay. Where are
those
they?
who were holding hands and they were saving the democracy for last 10 years, scratching each other's back. Now, once they are waxed by the real democracy,
Okay.
now it's about it's the survival which they are running for. And
Yeah, but
the
do you know,
real-
I just had a deja vu. When you use the term real democracy, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we used to use adjectives for democracy. Real democracy, true democracy. Are you telling us that we are back in that stage?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
This was all the process of evolution where our people have learned what democracy should be.
Okay.
So by vote, they have exercised their power,
Okay.
and they have bring
Now,
in the government.
there are two aspects. You might have exposed them. It is your perspective.
We haven't exposed them. They have exposed themselves.
Okay.
They
but,
were raising
But
these
regarding
slogans.
accountability, there are two aspects. One, your own service delivery. One understands that you inherited a lot of problems. But you took something like 45 to 50 days to come up with the idea that you are going to approach IMF. And then you had another change of mind again. On the other side, when it comes to accountability, again, people say that you are like pushing this agenda fairly aggressively, and maybe you should take a step back.
We are not pushing the agenda of accountability. It's the law enforcement.
No, but your Prime
institutions
Minister,
now.
our Prime Minister sits in a press
Let me
press
finish
conference, and he says
Let
that
me answer the previous question.
if I had powers, I would have actually nabbed something like 40, 50 people already.
He said if I had powers.
Yeah, but
He never said I had powers and I'm doing it.
but optics-wise, you're pushing the agenda.
One can be wishful.
Okay.
He has this wish and everybody knows it.
You're
and
right.
he is very loud. When he is thinking, he's a loud thinker. He is very fair. Whatever he thinks, he just expresses it.
Okay.
He is not king of, like Mr. Zardari, whatever he is
Okay,
thinking,
he
he's
doesn't
never
have
expressed
that
it.
power,
But the other
and that's
thing
why
is
he's
he
not
was-
pushing it. Right.
You were asking about the going to IMF after 45, 50 days. Going to IMF is always an open option. That's very easy to click it anytime.
Okay.
On
No,
the
it is
very
not that
first
easy.
day. On the very first day, like People's Party did in 2008, when they assumed their offices, when they got their government, and they were very experienced, mashallah. They had the direct training of this parliamentary style of democracy from UK. They were hand in hand, probably they were getting...
Who had that?
The People's Party and the Muslim League Noon,
The
they claim themselves...
co-chairman who would become the president of the country later hardly has any
You think
education
so?
from abroad.
You think so?
No, he did.
Let me finish.
And
Let
Yusuf
me
Razak
finish my
Gilani also
argument.
didn't. Okay.
Let me speak first.
Yeah.
Let me complete my argument. My thing is, you see, they would always claim we are seasoned. We know everything. We have learned we have made the constitution. We learn it. We know each and every aspect of constitution about the parliament and the parliamentary style of democracy. The so-called experienced governments, what they have done to this country, I would like the chairman, Mr. Bilawal, the baby Bilawal Bhutto, I would always say.
They
would
don't have
always
any
make-
representation here, so don't
he would
distort the
always
names, please.
He would always make this statement, and previously for last 1 week they are making these statements, creating a perception that this government does not have any policy. This government has failed to give any policy. I would like to give just a gist of what they have done in 2008. Probably Baby Bilawal doesn't know it, but I would like to make
Don't call him Baby Bilawal, please.
For me, he's a
it's a
baby.
request.
For
no,
me,
but,
he's a baby.
Before your government, there was
You think
another
he's grown
government.
up now? Okay, I'll call him Bilawal Bhutto.
Hang on. Before your government, there was another government in power. Sitting here, the former information minister tried to use offensive words for Imran Khan, and I stopped her. And we continued the program till the time she didn't change that position. So, with due respect, one has to adhere to
Okay, if
certain.
you think he's grown up, I'll say Bilawal Zardari.
Okay, yeah, please, go ahead.
Okay. So the thing is, in 2008, when the dollar was at left on 60 rupees, when People's Party government came into power, 4 years, Pakistan has experienced the worst inflation, the food inflation. It started from 20.5% and it reached to 30%. And I've got the rates of all these dal chana, dal mash and all the daily use commodities.
Yeah. Okay.
And the prices of vegetable oil. And I would like to give these statistics to Mr. Bilawal Zardari because, and by the way, they are available on the Federal Statistics Bureau.
Right.
And I'm quoting them right from there. So the experienced government, and in their duration, in their time period, dollar reached to 95, petrol prices went to double. And when I asked them, it will hurt them because the situation we are experiencing right now.
Yeah, but
they ran to IMF right away.
No, I get
after
that.
Acquiring their
I get
offices.
that. But criticizing them won't actually answer the questions today.
No, but they are making these statements because
Right.
they would say that PTI does not have any policy. They have,
If you
taken
don't
the
mind,
dollar
let me
to
go
this
back to-
much. I think they know the realities.
Kamal,
What is the
allow me
market
to go back
reality?
to Kakar Saab. Kakar Saab, your position is kind of very interesting in the government, right? You are allies of the government, but you still have a dispassionate view of this situation as well. Do you think that important time was lost in coming up with the solutions that were needed immediately?
Let me comment on this and with the beginning that we agree on one thing, that we are in a deep economic crisis.
Right.
We are in economic mess.
Right.
What are the reasons for the mess? If you go in the post-2008 dispensation, which as a state of Pakistan, we have borrowed the money from the multinational donors, and that money has been dispensed in a manner that it has brought us to a situation where we are today.
Right.
Now, having said this, we got a new government in the last 60 days or 65 days, and they had to reverse the situation and bring it on a track where the country should sail in an economically viable position.
Right.
So what were the options? The options were either you again approach multilateral donors, that is IMF or World Bank,
As you
whatever,
have.
as you have, or you generate money through friendly countries where you bring in the cash which is required for the balance of payments and the rest, and then you put up an economic plan where you bring the growth rate to a level where the economic ship can go through properly.
The two quick points here. One, if you are at this moment looking at stabilization or adjustment in the economy, there you cannot have growth. They usually are thought to be competing values. Either you have adjustment or growth. So that means for 2 years, you will have to take care of the situation right now. And the second thing is, I understand that you have to go to friendly countries. Apart from China, since we are talking about $14–15 billion worth of money, can you cite one country's example where we have got this much money from one friendly country or two friendly countries?
I mean, I'm not privy to the information, but I do have a sense that the government is approaching, like Prime Minister probably has left for Saudi Arabia today. Saudis and the UAEs and Chinese, all three of them I would cite, that they probably would come up with some cash solutions. This is my understanding. And I'm sensing it. I'm not privy to the information.
At this moment, Prime Minister has gone to Saudi Arabia to attend an investment conference that is focused on investing in Saudi Arabia, not in Pakistan.
Apparently, that is where he's going to attend the conference. But on the sidelines, probably he would be having meetings with other stakeholders in Saudi Arabia, where they would talk about the economic woes in Pakistan. This is what I sense.
So, do you think that the government actually wasted some time at all?
I wouldn't call it waste. My take would be that they were exploring all the realistic options. And they were thinking that what would be the best solution available to them.
Next question is, how would you explain the vote change in Punjab in the by-elections? Do you think that this impression that the government kept on dragging its feet for some time might have something to do with this kind of verdict?
My impression on the by-elections is that the entire narrative in which the 2018 elections were put in question mark, they've been answered. It means that there were no engineering in the general elections. They were relatively free and fair according to our standards.
Connect the dots. Explain
And
that point.
Because ANP wins a seat in the heartland of PTI, where PTI is the government for last 2 tenures. PML.
Are you talking about the seat contested first by Harun Balor and then his widow?
Harun's seat, my own assessment is that was expected to be won by the widow of
Because
Harun.
there was sympathy
There was
vote.
a sympathy wave. If I would have been a voter in that constituency, probably I would have voted for Summer too.
Yeah.
But the other one, which was probably lost by the governor's brother, that shows that the provincial government is not influencing the electoral process, which is a very good sign.
Right.
They
Provincial government might not be. But
and
what
not
about
even the federal government.
Yeah, but what about the elections that took place before this, right? You're trying to qualify them through this, right?
The prior to this election, the election was conducted not by the PTI, but now PTI, as being in charge of the government, are not
so you're
interfering.
saying your alliance has been vindicated, that you don't believe in meddling in the election.
I think so. It has been proven.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. Dr. Niaz Murtaza, connect the two.
Well, I wouldn't, try to rationalize that, just because the by-elections were fair and, the opposition won a few seats, that necessarily means that, the general elections were also fair. That's a separate issue.
Let us
And there
use
is a
it as
commission
another
or a
barometer.
committee has been formed
So
now.
when I said connect the two, I didn't mean this. I meant connect the impression that the government might not have that kind of homework with the kind of reaction that you saw in Lahore, in Bannu, elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's still, 1 or 2 sparrows, so you can't really say. But, if this pattern continues over the coming months, certainly it's something to, worry about. You can't just wish it away and say it doesn't mean anything. But then again, it's not a full-blown pattern yet. And, there is clearly the issue that, like what you were saying about the time wasted. I fully agree with that. I think several weeks have been wasted in deciding about whether to go to the IMF or not. And, it's a fairly clear, crystal clear matter. Talk to any economist of good standing and, they'll tell you there's hardly any other way of
talk to the caretaker finance minister.
Finance minister, I mean, all these hopes from friendly countries, expecting them to do something which they haven't done in the last 70 years, not just with you, with any other country. China never provides budgetary support on this kind of a scale. They may park $1 or $2 billion here and there with your state bank, but this kind of big gap. So I think a lot of time was wasted, and then after inviting IMF, formally applying then for the Prime Minister to say that we may not have to go back to them. And then
but it was a private statement given to certain people in confidence.
There was nothing. There's nothing private. This was to the press.
No, it was not part of the press release. It was quoted later by the people who left the meeting, and they were mostly the business owners, not reporters.
Whoever it was, but it was made in a public gathering. So I think, and then, even otherwise in other areas, you do see a sort of a drift. Nobody is clear about,
But you have to realize something else has happened since then. Khashoggi has happened. So a lot of dynamics keep on changing. How can you expect a government to remain static?
What does Khashoggi's death have to do? I mean, it's very unfortunate, but what does that have to do with, the political policy making
Investment conference, approaching Saudis again.
I don't think this has anything to do with Khashoggi's death, or whether it has an impact on, Pakistan's chances of, wriggling out of an IMF loan. So yeah, I mean, in area after area, you see half-baked ideas, then focus on, minor things, unrealistic goals like dam donations and so on. So, you are still waiting for, solid policy ideas. Now this housing scheme has come up. There are no details. So you see a government which is still not, finding its feet. So I think it's crucial.
Hang on.
On the one hand, you see the electorate.
Dr. Saab, one question and then I have to go to Kanwal Shuazab. Did you expect anything different? This is a government which has come to power for the first time ever. The Prime Minister has been struggling to come to power for past 22 years.
But then that should have been, your preparation time, and then you say we have the access to technical minds within Pakistan, abroad. We are making, appointments on merit, and when you actually look at the appointments, you see very different kind of people.
Right.
So, a lot of, issues.
Kanwal Shuazab, your reaction to everything Dr. Saab has said?
Obviously, I don't agree with him.
Okay, and
I'm
that
one
is
of
the answer?
appointee. I'm one of the appointee. I don't find anything which he is stating. Probably he has all the right to have his own perspective and his own
Yeah.
views. But I think there is a lot of work which is happening and people are doing, which
No, but-
you people are not aware of.
Okay.
And I think initially
The question then is,
let
why
me-
are we not informed? Is
The
it not your
answer
job to
is-
inform the media so that
The
we
answer
build
is-
confidence for you?
Yes, let me speak first.
Yeah, but
The
it is a
answer
dialogue. So you'll allow me to speak as
No,
well?
I won't. You don't allow me speak, then how will I,
Okay. How much
complete
time
my-
do you need? I'm not going to speak.
The thing is, there are so many things which are going on regarding the economic policy, and talking about IMF, Asif Saab has made it very clearly that the second day I have realized that we have to go to IMF, but then like what Kakar Saab has said, he was exploring the other avenues, and if we are going to IMF, we are well prepared before going to IMF. It's not that we run to them haphazardly and accept whatever they ask us to do, With IMF package, there comes a reform, a set of reform, what they set for us. And we should be in a position that if we go well thought, if we go well prepared with the team, then, we'll be able to negotiate what we have to accept or what not. If we go unprepared, we will accept everything they will impose on us. And this is what happened previously. All the experienced governments, they have accepted whatever IMF was putting on their tables. And
It wasn't the case like that.
And what we are now.
One correction regarding, I hope I'm allowed to ask a question, right?
Yeah, please.
Regarding preparation, the previous government, the question of going to IMF arose during the caretaker setup as well. And they kept on mulling over the possibility of approaching directly IMF, right? Then what they did was they prepared the ground, they actually laid the spade work, had a lot of work done, left it for your government. So there was a lot of preparation already. All you had to do is,
But we don't
take up the
have to-
documents and approach them.
We don't have to take the homework done by the caretakers as it is. We have our own agendas, we have our own policies, and we have our own manifesto, and we have our own workers and people who have voted for us. We need to see the exact situation. There were many things which were hidden. When you acquire or assume the offices, the things come out, and simultaneously, Prime Minister is not sleeping. He's working on many things. Like Dr. Saab said that this housing society, it's a vague idea, or we have just announced something. It's not like that. There are so many meetings going on. The task force is working, and we are coming up with a concrete plan. It's not that we have just floated the idea to satisfy our voters that, okay, fine, we have promised, now we have floated the idea.
Okay.
So similarly, and talking about this investment
But are you
conference
not
which he has gone
inviting,
for.
you're saying that task force is working, but you have simultaneously invited applications from the people who want to buy houses there, right? And simultaneously, you are still working on the plan through the task force.
It's not a small term plan, it's a long term plan. And initially, we have figured out which districts we have to start, and there's a lot of things which are going on. 40 industries are directly involved.
I know.
So, it's not that simple if you involve or if you float such type of plan.
idea.
It will bring the economic activity as well. So there are many aspects to see how and where and what
No, but
are
the question of
specifics to
finance,
benefit
a
the
serious
people.
one. The question of finance is a
Things are
serious
in
one.
pipeline. There are
Right,
many things
and
which
we
I
will
cannot
love
disclose.
to see that. Kakar Sahab,
And
I'm going to
I
come.
want to make a comment on this
very
international
quickly.
conference which Prime
Right.
Minister has gone to attend. Coming back, which you have said, the murder of the journalist, and before that, you remember the statement given by the Donald Trump against Saudis and threatening them directly that you are nothing without us. I think we should see both things. These are
but-
the dots we need to connect.
Yeah,
And
but
in
here's
this
another
situation-
dot. Here's another
in
dot.
this situation, when Saudis,
You
as our
have-
friends, they need us.
With due respect,
it's a
you have
very
touched the
good gesture.
nerve, and I have to answer what you have said. Donald Trump says, when he is asked what you are going to do regarding Khashoggi, and do you know what does he say? that, okay, we need justice, but we are not going to throw away $110 billion, right? That is how countries pursue their national interests. Why is Pakistan apologetic in exploiting the same situation when a brotherly country might be in a difficult situation, but Pakistan can get some benefit? Why shouldn't we exploit that opportunity? Why are we apologetic? But let me come back to...
We are not apologetic. I don't believe
I
this.
think we are. We have to keep on explaining, okay, we went for brotherly pursuits.
No,
we
this is
didn't
the
go for
time.
this,
If they
rent
need
seeking
us,
or
we
that.
should be there. If many of the countries, they are, boycotting
Right.
this
Kakar
investment.
Sahab, I'm going to come to you, but before that, I have to have a very small stop. Dr. Saab, one question regarding housing society or the, housing project. Since the idea has been floated by the government, I've seen that many journalists, intellectuals, writers, political economists, and the economists have been quite skeptical and have been shredding it to pieces. One question is it not a good idea? If it is, instead of criticizing or exposing the narrative, why don't people actually help out?
Well, I think one issue is, just the massive scale. I mean, everybody, housing experts, economists feel that, 5 million houses in 5 years is extremely unrealistic. And then, the second issue is just the lack of details of, financing mode, how the land is going to be made available. So,
you can draw up some details yourself and recommend it to the government.
That would be up to housing experts. But what you do see is this feeling among housing experts and economists that it hasn't been really thought through well, and you're already having applications being invited, whereas the details are still not out. So that's what bothers people.
Somehow our journalism, I can at least put my own profession on the mat here. Somehow our profession works, when it comes to economy, works in a predatory way. Always attacks first and sees the details later. Maybe media can also help in, hammering out the details of whatever is going on. Ask the questions, but instead of being...
Where are the details?
No, but don't be combative. I mean, there's an anchor who keeps on pushing. And then, all of a sudden, when the guest is gone, he has to just give his verdict. See, the government doesn't have any plan. It doesn't have any clue. Why? It is a good idea. Do we want 5 million people to have homes or not?
Well, I would say that the intentions are good.
I'm coming to.
Okay.
Yeah, intentions are good, sir. You want to say something before I ask the next question?
Well, I think so. It's a very fantastic idea. And as far as this detailed part is concerned, I agree that skepticism is probably it's born out of non-availability of the details.
Right.
If you go into the details, or if you even assume what sort of details would be there, for instance, people are thinking from where the land would come. The answer lies in vertical. People are thinking in horizontal paradigm. It's not necessary that it would be one-story houses where you need a huge land. So if you
Kakar
go
Sahab,
vertical...
I have heard experts talking about vertical solution.
Yeah.
I haven't heard a government official
Well,
talking about the vertical solution.
I am floating this idea. I'm not privy.
Thank you very much.
I'm not privy to the information, but all I'm saying is
you are actually answering my call
that
to give us suggestions.
Instead of just being skeptic about it, that if they go vertical, 5 million residential space is not that an ambitious target to achieve.
Right.
Should I
It's
inform
doable.
you the exact details?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Regarding the vertical or horizontal, it's going to be a mixed thing.
Yeah.
According to the need.
So
Yeah,
here we
but
go.
the only problem with the
And
vertical thing is...
Here we go.
Land is going to be provided by the government.
So here we go. So we have got a mix. When you talk of mix, let's say you have got 4 million vertical and 1 million horizontal. It's a doable thing. It's achievable. When it comes to the finance.
But the fear is it might not be reduced to pigeonholing. That you have very smallish houses.
Again, you have got these all-out professionals there who would devise and design these smart dwellings, which is solution in the all modern cities.
And
So
what
you can
about
do
the
it.
capital?
Yeah. What about the finance or the capital? Mortgage is one answer to it. You can introduce the mortgage system. You can
Long-term mortgage.
increase or encourage.
Yeah, I'm coming back.
Encourage all the domestic financial institutions to come up in this and invest in this plan. It can easily be done. There are solutions available to it.
Right.
So I don't think so. It's a bad idea. It's a very good idea, provided that it is being implemented in the good spirit, which the government at least has shows its intentions.
Right. Do you think that the government needs to, push these ideas more aggressively?
I think so. They need to push it more aggressively, and they need to play with the optics too, because it is not being articulated in the media as in the manner as it should be. So that's why those confusions are lying in the minds of the people. They need to address that.
Okay, there is another question, and then I go back to Kanwal. I don't know, for some reason she looks very aggressive right now. But there is this speculation that maybe bureaucracy is not cooperating with your government the way you expect it to. Is it true?
Well, I am not privy that whether the bureaucracy is cooperating or not. But my own opinion on bureaucracy is that they don't want to lose power. They always want to wield the power, and they want to remain relevant. This is a typical thought process in the colonial mindset of the bureaucracy all over the country.
You're not going to get cooperation
7
from them
decades.
by calling them colonial in nature.
Well, they are colonial in nature as far as their training is concerned, as far as their recruiting process is concerned, the entire concept is concerned. It's an alien concept of Max Weber. It was not introduced by Alauddin Khilji. So, of course, it is a colonial model. And in this colonial model, which we have carried, even our democratic institutions are colonial. So, there is nothing wrong in admitting that. It is not with negative connotation. We got some good things also from
Post-colonial.
not
colonial,
is post-colonial.
post-colonial, yeah.
It's post-colonial, but a legacy carried by colonial era.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to tell you here is that there is a thought process of the bureaucracy where they do feel through their training, through their capacity, that they are the one who should lead the government's policies.
Okay.
On the other hand, they are merely the implementing arm of the government.
And you brought an advisor who is heading actually the establishment division. It usually doesn't happen.
I am not at all suggesting here that we should go all out confronting the bureaucracy. What I'm suggesting over here is that you need to understand the actual thinking of it and then provide the solution politically in leading the challenges. So here we go when we get a prime minister like Imran Khan. Here he fits in, that he should take up the challenges, bring the solutions and lead it. The bureaucracy would follow it by the time they get settled and they know from where the power is coming.
Right. Kanwal Sahiba, your take on bureaucracy's cooperation, because you'll have some insider news as well.
Yeah, I think it's a mixed behavior.
Okay.
Few are willing to change themselves and few are not. So
Change themselves. So you don't find anybody who has already changed that heart.
You know, it's not about changing heart, it's about changing the minds and about the attitude.
Okay.
So
By heart,
if
I
you are
meant
even
minds.
changed with heart and you keep on practicing the same which you have been practicing for last 70, 80 years, it's not going to work for us.
So you're
If we say
saying that
Naya Pakistan,
I'm allowed to ask a quick question. Are you suggesting that the entire bureaucracy of Pakistan is broken? Is it?
no, I'm not
It
suggesting.
is a very honest question.
Yeah, but if I can complete the previous sentence, then in a continuation, probably I can.
Very sorry for interruption. If it is not broken, it has been deeply politicized. There is no disagreement on that.
And you're not politicizing
I mean,
it further.
you get loyalists amongst the bureaucrats of respective political parties. This is a known secret to everyone. So you need to depoliticize that and bring it back where they can become the true public servants.
Right. Kanwal Sahib.
Yes,
Carry on.
I agree with him, and I would second, please stop calling them bureaucrats. We must call them public servants as we are. This is the first set. We need to bring it, and this is going to be the initial stage where the mindset starts changing. When we just start realizing that we are here to give service to the public and not, the typical bureaucrats. About what you said, is it a broken institution or not? The thing is, at the end of the day, we are human beings and we have our, priorities, we have got our choices, we have our inclinations. So probably those who have gained a lot from the previous governments, maybe they have their attachments, they like the way things went on and they like probably their style of governance, and we are not fitting into their,
No, but
mindset
few
or
of
frame.
them are already behind the bars. I mean, Fawad Hassan Fawad is arrested, right?
But they were,
There are
I think,
others.
very much deliberate in their choices and their actions, and
Yeah,
now they
but
have to pay back. But
right now,
talking
the
about
people,
generally,
the people who are out there and working with you have made a clear choice to support the agenda of
But
the Democratic Party,
see,
the government.
there is, always what I was saying is we have got choices. There are many who are different. There are many who wants to go on that way, but we need to bring them to that point where change starts. When we say Naya Pakistan, it doesn't mean that we are relocating Pakistan and we are writing a board and we are shifting everyone to a new place. It's the mindset, it's the change which we are striving for, and it's the change of system, and in all the cadres of all the systems.
So you need more cooperation.
The same implements on the bureaucracy or the public servants, the same implements on the police,
Right.
the same implements on us even.
Right.
So we have to, move forward
If you
with a
get
different
cooperation
mindset.
of the bureaucracy, maybe a lot of complaints or the optics will change. Dr. Saab, I'm told that we are left with 2 minutes. I was supposed to conclude the program, but I willingly concede this space to you, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I mean, bureaucracy is what it is, and I'm sure there must be, a lot of problems that might be happening. But then again, it's the government's job to, solve those problems and come to, a working relationship with the bureaucracy, and how they do it. The Prime Minister had a talk with in Islamabad, then he went to Lahore and he met all the senior bureaucrats. He gave a pep talk. But then, now about 2 or 3 weeks later, we find out that, he's talking about having problems with the bureaucracy. So again, what is the agenda of the government? How is that? Is it going to change the mindset? Does it have any solid plans? So before you can even, announce, even this new housing scheme, it's going to be implemented through the bureaucracy.
Right.
So then, how are you going to resolve the problem? Are you telling the people that it will take 1 or 2 years first to, fix the bureaucracy before you start implementing? So, you have to work on multiple tracks and you have to come up with ideas. And,
And can we hope that intelligentsia of the country will support the government where it is possible?
yeah, wherever it comes up with solid ideas and, one
Or
can see.
it needs solid ideas. We
Yeah.
can support them?
Yeah, because, for
can support
example, the environmental, initiative, that's getting, positive
Right. If that
reviews.
happens, there hardly seems a possibility of a coup d'etat within the parliament to, remove the government and, bring another government, because this government at least has expressed its good intentions, and those are quite noble. I'm told that we have to conclude the program on this. Dr. Niaz Murtaza, thank you very much for your time, sir. Senator Anwarul Haq Kakar, sir, thank you very much for your time as well. Kanwal Shuazab Sahiba, thank you very much. I never mean to interject. I just ask questions and further questions to clarify your answers, to understand what is being said. Viewers, this was today's program. Thank you very much for watching us. Take care.